Welcome back to my channel. I am back with another review. This review is for the Real Housewives of Atlanta season 15 episode 11. So if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you know every time I upload a new video. Listen, there's a lot of drama that went down in this episode and a lot of stuff was exposed. So let's just get right into this review. All the ladies end up gathering together for this dinner in Portugal, and Drew decides that it's the perfect time for her to call out Sheree for talking about her behind her back. Now, they all ended up going on this trip because Sheree ended up finding out that she has fibroids, and she doesn't want to go through with the surgery, so she wants to try to heal them naturally. And so she ends up inviting all the other ladies to come because she feels like it could be a healing trip for everybody, and they can all work out whatever issues that they have. So that's the reason why Drew feels like this is the perfect time for her to call out Sheree. Now, the reason why Drew even knows that Sheree was talking about her behind her back is because Courtney was being really messy, and Courtney was the person who Sheree was talking about Drew to. And because Courtney and Ralph are supposedly cousins, she ended up going back and telling Ralph what Sheree was saying about Drew. And so obviously Ralph is going to go back and tell his wife what is being said about her. And so that's the reason why, Drew knows what Sheree was saying about her. Basically, Sheree was talking about this lawsuit that Drew is involved in. Allegedly, according to Drew in this episode, the reason why she's involved in this lawsuit is because there was this woman who contacted her and wanted to be her chef. She gave it a little trial run, but she didn't like this woman's food, so she didn't end up hiring her. And this upset this woman, and she ended up going to all the blogs and ended up filing this lawsuit for $1,000. During this back and forth between Drew and Sheree ends up bringing up the fact that Drew was talking behind her back as well when she went around telling everybody that the stuff from She by Sheree that was given to them at the reunion was taken away from them after the reunion was over. And listen, I don't know why Sheree would try to use this to back up why she was talking about Drew behind her back, because during this back and forth when she brought it up, Kenya, Kandi, and Sonia all said that they didn't get anything from She by Sheree at the reunion either. And the only person who said that they did get anything was Marlo. And Marlo could honestly be lying because Sheree's her friend and she wants to make her look good. So I don't even really believe Marlo when she said that she got anything. But also, Drew was kind of confused because her and Sheree actually made up about this whole She by Sheree argument a few episodes ago. They actually, squashed the beef and made up and understood where each other was coming from. And so Drew is confused as to why Sheree is trying to use that against her during this argument. Drew was right when she told Sheree, how are you going to do a healing trip when you can't heal your damn self? And that's the truth, because how are you going to do a trip all about healing and telling all the girls that they need to work out whatever issues that they have with each other when you're still holding on to beef with Drew when you guys worked it out a few episodes ago? And so I definitely agree with Drew on that. But right in the middle of this argument, the waiter ended up coming to bring them their food. And once the food got sat down on the table, Drew ended up walking away from the table in tears. Like, she was bawling her eyes out. And honestly, I was truly confused as to why she was crying, because I thought that, Drew had gotten into more serious arguments on this show. And I didn't feel like this one was that serious enough for her to cry. So I did feel like she was crying about something else, and this just triggered her tears. But I do feel like Marlo, Sheree, and now Sonia as well come off as mean girls this season. And I feel like they need to do something about that because it's not a good look. Now, I just knew for a fact when I saw Drew crying in this episode that she was not crying about that argument between her and Sheree, because she's gotten into way worse arguments on the show, and I knew that this whole $1,000 lawsuit thing was not why she was breaking down in tears the way that she was. Although Sheree is a mean girl, I don't think that that's why Drew was crying, and I was absolutely right, because when she got in her interview, one of the producers ended up asking her why she was really crying, and she said that when she did her video shoot a few episodes ago, obviously Ralph was in that video. One of the women who worked on the video was oiling him up for the shoot, and she ended up inviting him to go to Las Vegas to basically audition to be a male stripper. And so Drew is worried about what exactly Ralph is doing in Vegas. And so I absolutely knew she was not crying about that argument with Sheree. I knew it had something to do with Ralph. Sheree ended up planning some things for the ladies to do the next day in Portugal, and everybody seemed to be dressed and ready on time except for Kenya. Kenya does this every time they go on a trip or there's an event that they need to go to. She takes her sweet time, and in this episode, it was nothing different, and I just don't understand why she's not respectful of all the other ladies' time, because I know that if Kenya was dressed and ready and they were waiting on one other woman to come downstairs, I know that Kenya would have something to say about it, and so I just don't know why she keeps doing that all the time. She needs to be respectful of everybody else's time, just like she wants people to respect hers. Now, she does end up coming downstairs at some point, and as she's walking to the bus where all the ladies are sitting at, it's pouring raining outside, okay? So she takes a step to walk towards the bus, and she ends up slipping and falling. Now, I didn't think that she fell as hard as she was saying she fell, but looks could be deceiving, so she could have actually fell harder than we even think she did. And I was hoping that there was nothing wrong with her, but she did end up going to the hospital, and Kandi ended up going with her. Courtney is so damn shady, because when Kandi and Kenya ended up leaving to go to the hospital, she told Drew that the reason why Kenya fell was because of karma. She feels like Kenya deserved to fall and get hurt because she's always mean to other people, and that's the reason why this is the second time this season that they've gone on a trip and Kenya ended up in the hospital. And listen, I think that that was kind of rude of her to say, because she pretends like she's cool with Kenya and the other ladies when she's around them, and then when they leave, she has something to say. I just wish that she would keep that same energy when Kenya is there and say it to her face instead of saying it behind her back, because Courtney is extremely messy to me. She's one of those sneaky people that you got to be careful for, because she is the one who went back and told Ralph that, Sheree was talking about Drew, and that's the reason why Drew ended up confronting Sheree. And I was surprised that Sheree didn't end up confronting, Courtney about her going back and telling Ralph what she was saying about Drew, because she did start a little bit of trouble. And so I'm going to keep my eye on Courtney, because I feel like she's a troublemaker. While Kandi and Kenya are at the hospital, the rest of the ladies end up going out for drinks, and the conversation comes up about, Marlo saying that she went on a date before with the guy that Kenya is dating, and Monetta said that she didn't think that it was right that Marlo did that. Now, Marlo and Sheree feel a different type of way, because they feel like it wasn't wrong for Marlo to do what she did to Kenya, because Kenya did the same thing to Martell and Sheree, and I actually do agree with that. I do feel like it wasn't that big of a deal when Marlo did the same thing to Kenya that Kenya did to Martell and Sheree, because I feel like if you can dish it, you should be able to take it. But I do think that it was wrong the way that they were coming at Monetta, because every time Kandi and Kenya are not around, they always have something negative to say to Monetta. They never do it when Kandi and Kenya are there, and I just don't understand what exactly their issue with Monetta is, because I haven't really seen her do anything to anybody. They seem to think that she kisses Kandi and Kenya's asses because she doesn't necessarily say anything negative about them when they're not around, and I think that that's a good thing. I don't think that she should be entertaining negative conversations about her two so-called friends on the show when they're not around. And, Marlo and Sheree would do the same thing. They don't entertain negative conversations about each other when the other one is not around, so why is Monetta being targeted? Honestly, I'm just waiting for Monetta to clap back at them. Sheree ended up setting up this whole Portugal trip for the ladies to come together and heal and really work out whatever issues that they have, but I'm having a hard time believing that that's the reason why she set up this trip, because she's being extremely messy already. They ended up going out for drinks, and she ended up bringing up in front of Drew that Kandi was being very dismissive of her tears in the previous episode, and Kandi was being dismissive of Drew's tears. She didn't believe that, Drew was really crying. She felt like Drew was acting, and I honestly feel like the reason why Kandi felt that way is because, Drew has gotten into worse arguments on the show, so she didn't understand why Drew broke down crying in this particular situation. But I feel like Sheree is just trying to cause trouble between Drew and Kandi, because I feel like her and Marlo are trying to break up Kandi and Kenya's little group that they have going on, so that they can sit back and laugh and watch it all come tumbling down, because she tried to imply that Kandi is not really Drew's friend, because she told Drew that if Kandi was really her friend, she would have went outside and checked on her. And listen, I do think that Kandi should have went outside to check on Drew, but I do feel like you have to have friendships where you should be able to be honest with each other, and if you can't have honesty within your friendship, I don't think you really have one. Sheree ends up putting together a slumber party for all the ladies to come enjoy, and everybody ends up showing up except for Kenya, who is still in pain from the fall, although she did not break any bones. Now, Kandi does end up showing up to the slumber party despite Kenya not being there, and she ends up getting into a little bit of a back and forth with Drew because Drew still feels some type of way about what Sheree told her Kandi was saying about her when she was crying. Now, Kandi did end up apologizing to Drew because Drew ended up telling her that she was trying to be vulnerable and that she was really hurt at the fact that Kandi felt like she was being dramatic and just acting rather than being a real human being with real, genuine emotions. And Kandi does apologize to her, but she still stood firm on the fact that she didn't think that Drew was really crying about what she said she was crying about because she had saw Drew get into more worse arguments than that one. And honestly, Kandi was right because in Drew's interview, she said that she was actually crying because she felt like Ralph was cheating in Las Vegas. So I do feel like Drew could have been upfront and honest about why she was crying. But at the end of the day, sometimes you don't want to open up to these women a little bit too much because they'll end up using it against you in an argument. Now, when production wrapped up at the very end of this episode, there was still a camera rolling in the room where all the ladies were having a conversation, and they're all arguing back and forth with Drew because they're saying that Drew made out with LaToya, and that's considered cheating on Ralph when they went on a trip a couple of seasons ago. But Drew is denying this, saying that she never made out with LaToya. Now, I personally don't know why they're even bringing this up because I don't care if Drew made out with LaToya and cheated on Ralph. At the end of the day, Ralph is allegedly a really big cheater, so I don't understand why it's a big deal when she does it back to him. And at the end of the day, I don't know why the ladies are making this a really big deal because if Drew actually did make out with LaToya a couple of seasons ago, Ralph still stayed with her probably because he's out here doing worse than what she did. So I just don't know why they care so much. But I don't like the idea of Drew constantly lying about stuff that we know she's not telling the truth about because it makes her look bad. So those are my thoughts on this week's episode of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. Let me know what you guys thought about this episode down in the comment section. Don't forget to hit that like button for me. I appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more videos and hit the notification bell so that you know every time I upload a new video. Thank you so much to everyone who has subscribed to my channel. I appreciate you all. And until next time, I will talk to you guys in my next video.